Since I was a kid, the sporting event that I desperately waited for wasn't the Olympics, nor the World Cup, nor the Super Bowl. It was the World Baseball Classic. And since the WBC is nearly here, I decided to make a video on the history of the event that's brought me so much joy throughout my life. This is the history of the World Baseball Classic. So, in an attempt to globalize the sport, MLB created a 16-team tournament and later 20 teams. The format varied between tournaments, but basically there are 4 groups of 4 or 5 teams. The best 2 records move on to the second round. And after that, the final round, in which it includes the semifinals and the championship final. There have been 4 versions of the World Baseball Classic: 2006, 2009, 2013, and 2017. The first 2 tournaments in 2006 and 9, Japan won. 2013, Dominican Republic won. In 2017, the US won. And basically, these are the teams that are particularly called the favorites because they're completely stacked to the brim. But if we ever talk about a tournament like this in the sport of baseball, there is a lot of upsets that happen in its tournament. And these are some of the most incredible upsets in tournament history. Puerto Rico has always been a good team in the World Baseball Classic, but they haven't really been one of the favorites. In 2013, it was a particularly interesting year because the only 2 good caliber players that Puerto Rico had at that time was Carlos Beltran, Yadier Molina, and maybe Angel Pagan. He played really well in the tournament, but I don't think he was considered a really good player in the major leagues. Nonetheless, in the first inning, Mike Aviles sent a single right up the middle to score the first run of the game, and it was 1-0 until very late when one particular moment happened that changed Puerto Rican baseball forever.
1-1, oh mercy! Way back and goodbye, home run!
After this home run by Alex Rios, the game was 3-0, but later, Japan scored a run in the 8th inning. But Puerto Rico somehow, someway got out of the inning with just the 1 run, and they actually won against Samurai Japan. And for the first time in WBC history, Japan didn't win the World Baseball Classic. In 2009, the Netherlands were put in a group that includes Panama, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic. Those 3 teams had more experience in baseball than the Netherlands, but somehow, someway, the Netherlands beat the overwhelming favorite Dominican Republic, not just once, but twice. And they went to the second round to the Miami qualifiers. Sadly, that's where their run ended. In the 2017 edition of the World Baseball Classic, Israel qualified for the first time. Most people considered Israel one of the weakest in their group, but somehow, someway, they went undefeated in their group and they moved on to the second round. They were 1 win away to going to the semifinals when the Netherlands, of all teams, beat them. But there is one other upset. In 2013, Italy played against Mexico, Canada, and the USA. Now, a lot of people wouldn't consider Italy to be as good as the US, nor Canada, nor Mexico. But somehow, someway, they slaughtered Canada and they barely beat Mexico to move on to the second round. In the second round, they almost beat the two finalists in the Classic, Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. They suffered their respective losses to them by just one run. That is heartbreaking. Now, with this level of competition in the WBC, there's definitely a lot of rivalries that come from it. One of the rivalries is Japan against South Korea. They're probably the two best teams that come from Asia, and they absolutely want to be better than the other. In the 2009 World Baseball Classic, they faced up each other in the finals, and it was one of the best games in the history of the WBC. But the biggest rivalry in the WBC is definitely the Dominican Republic against Puerto Rico. They absolutely want to beat each other, and they always put up a heck of a game. In fact, in the 2013 World Baseball Classic Finals, they faced off. And it was the first World Baseball Classic from the Caribbean that faced each other. So that was cool. Now, from all of these upsets and rivalries, there's a lot of memorable moments that happen throughout all the editions of the World Baseball Classics. But here are some of my favorites. The Javi Baez tag / Yadi Molina tag. Adam Jones robbing a home run from Manny Machado in a critical game to put the Americans into the semis in 2017. Eric Aybar to put the Dominicans on top in the 2013 second round to get them into the semis. The Mexico / Canada fight in the first round of the 2013 WBC. And the Netherlands walk-off against the Dominican, which I have shown before. But in my opinion, that's the best moment that has happened in the WBC. Now, up to this point, I've just been talking about how good and how entertaining and how great this tournament is. But with every single tournament in the world that is that big, there is some bad stuff. There are some problems. And here are some problems that I have, and a lot of people have. Globalization. Now, globalization is great for any sport because more people play it and it's great. The thing is that when you go and introduce baseball and make it out to be more global than it is, and you introduce it faster than it should, it becomes a problem because now several teams that incorporate several of the World Baseball Classic teams are iffy that they represent their own country, like Israel or Italy. Like Italy is a team full of Italian Americans, which is fine, but are Italians playing baseball out there? Even more extreme is Israel. Israel is basically a team full of Jews that are from the US because they don't really play baseball in Israel, and it's tough to make baseball out to be that they're playing in those sports now in those countries. Now, here's a problem. It seems that it's a cheap way to make baseball more bigger than it is, and it is really big. But sometimes some teams are iffy that they should be playing in the World Baseball Classic. Not a huge issue, but a little issue because the sport is global. Asian teams play it, Caribbean teams play it, South American teams play it, Central American teams play it, of course North American and European teams play it, and some like in South Africa they play it, in Oceania they play it. So it's safe to say that baseball is global. So there's that. Oh yeah, and on my Twitch account, I'm watching some World Baseball Classic games. So if you guys are into that, want to see my reaction, I'm gonna mostly talk about and gonna react to the Caribbean games, some other games too that I think are really good games to watch, but mostly the Caribbean games, the Dominican, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Nicaragua, those in that group. So yeah, until next time, see ya.